Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to Cimmerian September, halfway through the month. This is a month devoted to reading Robert E. Howard's Conan stories. The original versions of his stories, his fragments, not any of the pastiches that have come along since then. It was created by Michael K. Vaughan to celebrate one of the greatest pulp characters of all time. And I have been stretching the boundaries just a bit of what Cimmerian September is. I am definitely going back to the Conan stories, but I've been reading the Savage Sword of Conan. Marvel Comics' original black and white run of a Conan comic book. For some reason that I do not know, it struck me to reread or read all of those issues. And it just happened at the right time. It happened at the right time. It happened to coincide with Cimmerian September. I started it long before September, and I will be continuing long after, I think. But I'm plunking down a video every once in a while here to talk about some of the issues that I'm reading, some of the things that they make me think about Conan just in general, or about comic books just in general, or both. And today, today I have to eat a little crow. Today I have to backtrack a little on one of my pronouncements. I have to change an opinion of mine that I've held for 60 years fairly solidly that whole time. I have to add a little proviso. Never a comfortable thing to do. I have been reading in the upper reaches of Savage Sword of Conan, past issue number 200. This went on to like 230 or 40, something like that. And I wasn't reading the magazine by this point. Wasn't looking at it at all. To me, I think they lost me around issue 150. So by the time it reached issue 200 or higher than that, I wasn't even aware that it was still being published unless I happened to see an issue at the comic shop. Last few times I have read late issues, and I thought it might be time to wander back to much earlier issues, well down in the double digits, the issues that I know really well. But I stuck around in the post 200s for a while, and the issue that I read last night, I need to talk about a little today because I need to eat a little crow. It's issue number 214. This is the cover. Conan is being attacked by a giant metal horse. What position he is in, I do not know. I have no idea. But it's like I've said, it's like we've noticed a few times, it's kind of tough, composition-wise, to do a comic book cover in which you can clearly see the menace and you can clearly see the hero. That's a little tough to do. I don't know that this is the approach that I would take, but is this a Boris Vallejo cover? No, it's not. This is not an adaptation of a Conan story. This is written by Roy Thomas, and it's a story called The Reign of Thulandra Thuu. And this is about Conan as king. In his adventures, in his lifetime, Conan has lots and lots of adventures. He is a prisoner of war. He is in dungeons vile. He is a pirate. He is a mercenary. He is a general. And eventually, he kills the king of the greatest kingdom of the Hyborian Age, Aquilonia, and puts the crown on his own head. It's a wonderful little detail that he crowns himself. And becomes King Conan. And this story is set soon after he takes the kingship. So he is still settling in to his reign. But this is not a young Conan. This is a Conan who's in his 40s. And that's fascinating. That's not going to be a canonical story. There's only, there's very limited canonical stories to choose from, and it would be a big deal if you adopted one of those. No, this is just going to be Roy Thomas adapting probably stuff that L. Sprague de Camp and Lynn Carter wrote. Or even that's not written at all, that's just sort of hinted at. There have been numerous detailed outlines of Conan's life. Roy Thomas relied rather heavily on those outlines when he was running thin on material to write about. And here he takes us to Aquilonia right after Conan has started his rule. When he is still learning the ways of kingship, he's still learning that he has to sit and listen to ambassadors and envoys and whatnot. It's very different from the life that he'd led up until this point. And I was okay with that. I'm okay with Roy Thomas writing about that. If you're going to read Savage Sword of Conan, you're going to read a lot of Conan's pastiches. You're not the tiny minority of the things you'll read will be adaptations of stories. I was okay with that, but when I saw the opening page, I saw two things. One is that the artwork is by Ernie Chan. Now, I have been saying in Savage Sword of September here, I've been saying that I don't like Ernie Chan when he inks John Buscema, which he often does in Savage Sword of Conan. I don't actually like him when he inks anybody else either. And I've been usually added to that I don't like his own artist work when he is just the artist. A lot of times in Savage Sword of Conan, John Buscema was not available, and Ernie Chan just did the artwork. Never missed a deadline, wrote solid stuff. You can definitely tell in his artwork, panel by panel, you can tell what he's drawing. He's a good artist. Good, I guess the dismissive term would be journeyman. But had I been buying Savage Sword of Conan at the stands at this time, if I had opened it and seen that it was artwork by Ernie Chan, I might have refused to buy it just based on that alone. I usually buy my comics by their artwork. So when I saw this opening panel and saw that it was, written by Roy Thomas at a time that's interesting in Conan's life, but artwork by Ernie Chan, my first reaction was, okay, I should have gone to earlier issues. I shouldn't have looked at this later thing. But then I looked at the artwork, and it's rather good. That is a rather good opening page. There is Conan telling a bunch of warriors to fight him. They are sparring. He is sparring with some of his warriors. They are not his enemies here. He's training them. And I don't know if it's Ernie Chan for this issue alone, or if I'm getting used to him, because when you read a lot of Savage Sword, you encounter a lot of his work, or if this is maybe the inker that he had. Who do we told who the inker is? Oh no, we're not. We're given a letterer. Oh. So I wonder if this is a case of what you get with Ernie Chan if he inks his own work. Remember just recently we saw an example of John Buscema's artwork when he does his own inking. It's incredibly good. It's a notch better than even his best inkers can do. I wonder if that's the reason here. Oh my God, wouldn't that would be an extra ration of eating crow. Conan is sparring with these men, and he's taunting them the whole time, saying, you're too easy to beat. One of them gets all caught up in the spur of the moment and nicks him by accident. That wasn't aware that the fight was over, wasn't aware that Conan wasn't looking, and nicked them. And they're all horrified. They kneel and beg forgiveness. And he orders them to go, not because he's mad at them, but because it's a tiny scratch. And I would expect that you all scratch me. If you need to be better at warriors than you are. So one little scratch, that's what I'm mad at. That only one of you even managed to do this. He orders them away. And look at this. Boy, oh boy. I should have looked at that before I made this video. This could very well be that this is what you get if Ernie Chan does his own inking. Well, then why is his inking of other artists so substandard, so boring? Why, if his inking of his own work is so good? Anyway, one way or another, I was reading this and I was immediately aware of the fact that I was enjoying the artwork. Conan's withered old, palace bookkeeper, vizier, or whatever, interrupts him to tell him that all the envoys are there. Now that he's done with the sparring, he needs to get back to work. And they do. The courtier introduces him to the courtroom. And it's another terrific panel. That is an absolutely terrific panel. I myself can't help but think that these three right here, they are major characters. But I can't help that their look right here is meant to look like the Warriors 3 from Thor. But I don't know how much of a comics fan Ernie Chan was. He might not have been any at all. Conan listens to the various embassies here, his various lords, various ambassadors, and we learn he's wearing the lion belt of Aquilonia. And we learn that Thulandra Thuu was a wizard who was aligned with the old king of Aquilonia, along with a woman named Alcina. And when Conan takes the throne, Thulandra Thuu flees from Aquilonia, and Conan banishes Alcina. He banishes her from the kingdom. He doesn't have her killed, but he says, if you ever set foot back in Aquilonia, you will die. And we learn in the next panel, while Conan is talking with his advisor, we learn that Thulandra Thuu is nearby. He's using his sorcery to cloak himself from Conan's searches, but he's real near. to Conan's castle in Aquilonia, and he has transformed the lion belt into a kind of iPad. It's a hidden camera. He can use the lion belt to eavesdrop on what's going on in the kingdom. And he is, of course, plotting his revenge. We learn that Alcina is there with him. Look at this panel. That is not Ernie Chan. What on earth? That is not Ernie Chan. That's fantastic. It was a shock. It was a shock going through this issue to be enjoying Ernie Chan artwork. That I did not see coming at all, and is actually tempting me to stay around in the 200s rather than go much earlier back. Thulandra Thuu takes a seat, and the people who are coming to visit him are people we've just seen at Conan's audience. Lords, head of guards, military men, they are here to consult with Thulandra Thuu about Thulandra Thuu helping them to take power in Aquilonia, getting rid of Conan. They don't like him. And Thulandra Thuu rages at them and then banishes them. It says, I'll contact you when I need you. He tells them, you didn't summon me. No one summons Thulandra Thuu. I am the greatest wizard of them all. And they cower because they don't want him to just kill them on the spot. But one of them says, surely, wizard, you mean you will rule behind the throne. The people would never accept a sorcerer. And he says, yes, you will wear the crown, Baron, but in a manner of speaking, I will wear you. Now be gone, and let me plan the barbarians' untimely death. And she was eavesdropping the whole time. She comes from behind the curtain there. As he says, I almost lost my temper. They almost saw that I, of course, intend to rule. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to rule myself. That's his plan, but they don't know it. And we see Conan going out for a hunt. The next day, he is going out for a hunt. And he is being serenaded by a minstrel who is playing verse. Conan hears him playing verse. Listens to the whole thing. It's actually a verse from Robert E. Howard. And tosses him a coin. The musician hits it back because he doesn't feel that it would be right to take his coinage. And Conan says, all right, off we go. Look at these panels. This is not boring stuff. This is terrific. They go off on a boar hunt. And a giant boar attacks Conan. And it guts his horse. And almost kills Conan. But Conan manages to kill it. And something happens. He's laying there. He's panting for breath. Something happens. That feels weird. Almost like his essence is lifting out of his body. But also there's a clanking of metal. Because he is being attacked by a metal horse being driven by the will of Thulandra Thuu. So we get the comic book version of the cover. Conan, of course, can't hurt it. But look at this artwork. What on earth? So from now on, when I say that I don't like Ernie Chan's artwork, I'm going to have to say except for that one Conan issue. Conan can't hurt the thing, but he can't escape from it. He falls into water. It jumps after him and stomps on the mud to try and get rid of him. And then we get this great panel here where this inhuman creature just stalks off into the wilderness out of the water. Not only is that a good visual, but it's a good visual decision to show us the thing leaving. That adds to the foreboding of the moment. You've got these fractured reflections in the water of the trees. That's just, what on earth? Is this what you get if Ernie Colan inks himself? Conan's men catch up to where he was. They see the dead boar, and they see the gored horse that's still alive. And they see Conan, who comes up out of the river. Again, a fantastic inking decision. His face is indistinct in that first panel. That is really good. He says he'll explain later. It was a tight call with the boar. He kills his horse to put it out of its misery, and he gets back to his capital city. And once again, the minstrel is there singing. Only this time, Conan says, "Arrest him, and we'll execute him tomorrow. It's treason. You don't get to sing bawdy songs about me. I'm the king." A totally different reaction. And when his counselors tell him, well, that doesn't seem fair. The people won't like that at all. He says, you can join him. you'll all be executed at dawn. They don't know what's going on. They say to themselves, where is it? They wonder back and forth amongst themselves, is it possible that we are finally going to see Conan the Tyrant, who will be far worse than his predecessor? Let's see here. Yes, they say, by Mitra, have we merely raised a new tyrant to the throne? And then we get a lascivious interval. Because one of the things that Conan was going to do before he went off on his boar hunt was oversee his harem. The king of Babylonia, I guess, has a harem. And it's a new king, so you've got new managerial policies. You're going to want to look over the staff, as it were. He tells his agent advisor that he will spare the time to look over his harem. And he does. He puts them through their paces while his advisor watches. And then eventually decides that, none of them will do, that he wants fresh women, including the wives of his nobles and subjects. The counselor is horrified, but Conan says that's the way it's going to be. And by that point, you would have been wondering, is this the real Conan? But at this point in the story, you already know. But because before we get to that harem business, we get a scene with Alcina standing there when she is accosted by the real Conan. There was a split that took place after he killed the boar. And the Conan who returns from the boar hunt is not him. It's Thulandra Thuu in his form. That's how he's going to rule. Not through one of the noblemen, but by disguise as Conan. He promises her amnesty and a seaside villa if she will help to cure him. He's been a little bit badly wounded by, I presume, that metal horse, and maybe the boar. And she does. She gives him magic herbs and salves that cure him overnight. So that when Conan is telling his aged counselor, that I want more women, I want all the women in my kingdom, he's interrupted by Conan. And that's when we notice that this Conan has been carrying a wizard staff the whole time. And actually, Conan actually says that when he's charging forward. He says, I, Publius Conan, the real Conan, the one you've been toadying to, Thulandra Thuu, is transformed by black magic. Didn't you recognize his staff? And Publius, the old servant, says, I just thought he found it somewhere. As Conan charges, as they face each other. And this is classic sword and sorcery. This is our sandaled hero versus a wizard in his own form, using a staff that is capable of hurling thunderbolts. But Conan doesn't care. He lunges under his guard and knocks both sword and staff away. They leap for them, but one of them is faster than the other. And here we get another terrific panel. I wonder if I can show you this landscape. Look at that. That is just amazing. Just amazing. There's nothing boring about that at all. What on earth? This is not Early Chan. What on earth? Conan realized that it was always going to, when in a contest of physical strength, it was always going to be the actual Conan who would win, not the sorcerer. He hurls him away, but he isn't content because he's dealt with this guy before. Your staff might not be sufficient to kill you, but I know what will. He says, if you ever walk the world again, it'll be without a head. He smashes his head off the body like that, with blood splurting everywhere. That's not how blood actually works when you cut someone's head off. But it works for me. It works in this panel. Absolutely. And then a new dawn comes up. This is lovely. That is just a lovely panel. That is just wonderful. A new dawn comes up. Conan, of course, frees all the people that were going to be executed. And he does right by the woman who helped him. And he finishes up by telling the troubadour that you are free to sing songs about me all you want. And that's how the story ends. With the troubadour. Look at this panel. That is amazingly good. With the troubadour singing to King Conan. That's how the story ends. Now, this issue has other stuff in it, of course. By this point in Savage Sword of Conan, you didn't get a whole story that sprawled through the whole issue. But that story, The Reign of Thulandra Thuu, was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I didn't just enjoy Roy Thomas's writing, although it's really good. For instance, one of the little details that he adds in here that I was kind of hoping he would, and that maybe a simpler writer would not have included, is that those noblemen and guardsmen that allied themselves with Thulandra Thuu in order to overthrow Conan, they still very much want to overthrow him. The wizard failed, but that just means they need another plan. That doesn't mean that they're suddenly loyal to Conan. The story was really good, but the artwork was really good too. That was the big shocker here. The big surprise is that I read a Conan story drawn by Ernie Chan that I loved. I love the artwork. So that's what I get for making confident pronouncements. I will try to dial back the confident pronouncements for a little while because my confidence is shook. And I'm going to stick around in the later issues of Savage Sword. I think I stopped around issue number 150. I was looking at the covers of these things, and up until then, I remember the covers with the particular remembrance that you have when you paid for it, as opposed to when you just looked at it. And then so I think I'm going to stay in the later numbers here and see if there are more surprises to me. When you think about it, I've had quite a few surprises so far that have been pretty good. I had that great the Daughter of Rakhtavashi with Buscema inking his own work. Here I have Ernie Chan inking his own work in a story that I really liked, a whole cloth story that I really liked. So I'm going to see what more pleasant surprises these later issues have for me. That could be a mistake, but I will report back. Thank you, BookTube.